This past weekend, we spoke about fanning into flame the gift of God that is in us, which we get from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 through 7. The Apostle Paul writes, "For this reason I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." One of the things that we learned from Paul's letters to Timothy is that his main purpose is to strengthen and encourage him for the task at hand. You see, Timothy had a difficult task in front of him leading the church of Ephesus. It was under attack with false teachers promoting ideas that was in contrary to the gospel message. This was affecting Timothy in a negative way. Think about it this way. Paul wouldn't need to tell Timothy to have courage if he didn't lack courage. And Paul wouldn't need to tell Timothy to fan into flame the gift of God that is in him if he was already doing so. Now, today, I want to bring our attention to this really important point. Paul was writing to Timothy in order to motivate him to do the thing that Timothy already knew he was called to do. So as we read the words to Timothy, fan into flame the gift of God which is in you, we understand that Paul is letting Timothy know two things. One, he has a gift. And two, there are things Timothy needs to do to ensure this gift doesn't stay dormant and that he doesn't lose his passion for the mission that he's called to. But friends, I want to make an argument today that the fanning into flame did not start after Timothy read this letter, but as Timothy was reading this letter. Here's why. Our words impact the people around us. Paul was Timothy's mentor. He discipled him. He prayed for him. He affirmed his calling. And when Timothy was feeling down and possibly even defeated, this mentor knew exactly what he had to do, which was to allow his words to be the catalyst which would ignite the spark inside of Timothy. Paul was reminding Timothy of his gift and his call and where to find his strength, which was in Christ. But as we take a step back, what we see is really happening is that this mentor is telling his mentee, hey, you can do this. I believe in you. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5, Paul says, I am reminded of your sincere faith. So Paul says, the faith you have is genuine, Timothy. And so we know that everything that comes after this line in the text is because Paul knows what God had in store for Timothy was not a mistake. I remember I was young, I was about 8 years old. My dad was waking me up 5 a.m. so we could work out and train soccer. And I had a lot of respect for my dad and my grandfather since they both played professionally. My dad got me to the skill level where the coaches for my team couldn't put me with the same age group. I had to play with some older kids. And I'll never forget my first game with the older kids. I was intimidated. I was afraid. And there was something wrong with me in that first half. I didn't know what to do. It's like I forgot everything that I was taught. And so halftime came, and the coach pulled the team together, and the coach gave us a speech. But if you were to ask me today what he said, I can't really tell you. I don't remember what the coach said. But then my dad pulled me aside, and he gave me a speech. And he said, my son, you can do this. You're better than that. Don't be afraid. Do it without fear. Those words from my dad did something inside of me. It ignited a spark. I went back in the second half, scored 2 goals, and we won that game 2-1. So the words that my dad shared with me impacted the game, and we went home with a win. The power and effect that your words have on the people around you should never be underestimated. Here's what I know to be true. There are Timothys in your life who feel down and out, lacking motivation, that need to hear you say, you can do this. I believe in you. Let your words be the catalyst that ignites the necessary spark in people's lives today.